requires a huge amount of the long range poke, but okay.
Is it the bot lane? Is it bot lane?
Baby! And to seal the fates of Vladi and Yike with Broken Blade moving first. The flashback from Caps as he tries to get onto Vladi. No summoner on Vladi. He's down for first blood. Yike caught up as well. Flash with the Ruthless Predator stun and Yike tries to escape, but the shield is not enough. G2 find 2 in the mid lane.
Okay.
Get the turret, get the turret, get the turret.
Can I get trick? Can I get trick?
Okay, I take it as well. Can you go top as well?
I can't do it. Yes. Sorry, Labrov.
It's my bad, it's my bad.
The third game of the series, and it's getting closer and closer between KC and G2. 10 minutes in right now. I would really like to hear your thoughts when it comes to stamina in best of series, particularly considering it's a fearless draft and things are shaking up a little.
Yeah, it definitely feels a lot more involved between the games when it comes to the fearless draft. You need to account for a lot more options. You need to make a fresh game plan every single game. Definitely a lot more work for us behind the scenes, but for the players, I think we have a bunch of people who've done this many times, so we're pretty good on the stamina front.
They've done it many times, but they never did it on stage in official games. Game 4, Fearless Draft. If you've been watching a bit of other regions, LPL, LCK, this is usually when you can forget everything you know about League of Legends and enter unknown territory. So what we want to do here is that I'm going to put these guys to the test. Odoamne, you're going to be KC. Finn, you're going to be G2. And I want you guys to Fearless Draft battle, actually, and show us what you think the teams could come up with. I know it's really, really hard to predict in this Game 4. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
Really, it's going to be... Here we go, I guess.
So we know that KC chose blue side here for this Game 4, so what are you opening with?
If I make KC over here, I'm keeping up the usual Pantheon ban that I've been having for the whole series. I think it's a great SkewMond pick, so it's something to look out for.
I will take out the Skarner, because that champion should not be legal right now.
That's a little bit early for you to taking that out.
Bold move, bold move.
Everything standard so far?
Everything standard so far. I am taking out this boy for no obvious reasons.
For no obvious reason? You're scared of Hansama Draven, really?
No, I mean, I'm just setting up a power pick for myself, you know?
I'm a little bit scared of Caliste.
Oh my god.
Well, now we're a little bit deep down the rabbit hole on what is OP and what is not. If I have a little think here.
Have a little think?
I'm banning this little champion. Your boy has been having great performances on him so far throughout the playoffs.
That is true. I will take out the Ambessa. I'm scared of them picking it. I think that's the last top lane power pick left, and now it's an even playing field.
Well, now it's...
What are you opening with?
Now you left this bad boy open. I feel like Zinzao is a little bit of an obvious pick here. I think that going deeper into the jungle pool, it is the one that's getting pinched the most. So unless
you just activated my trap card. Rockstar World Final, Jack's counterpick activated, and combat that with a Caps Ori, and I have a really strong mid jungle 2v2.
All right.
Okay, that is interesting. How would I react here? It is a little bit tough. I feel like Syndra is a little bit of an obvious choice here. Has great synergy with the Xin Zhao, and now I have the option of either securing an early top lane pick for myself or maybe going the AD route. And I think I'm going to be going for the Caitlyn to secure a little bit more lane prio for my bot lane.
That's a lot of risk, but also a lot of space early game.
We have enough engage. We have enough
Caitlyn is very strong in the 2v2, but if we can manage to swap out of that Caitlyn lane, I feel pretty comfortable in my Misfortune pick here. Hansama Classic makes me think of 2021, 2022 Worlds, where he was outplaying like a beast on that.
Do you have enough setup for this MF ult, though?
We're getting to that.
All right, we're getting there. Sorry, I'm spoiling a bit.
One of the strongest laners right now.
Yeah.
So don't forget to ban Finn. You don't want to miss a ban.
I also want to ban a good pick together with the Caitlyn, and I'm going to be taking out Deluxe. I think that is one of the scarier champions.
I do want to remove the setup from the MF. I feel like their team comp relies a lot more on having a space maker, so I am probably looking to take out the Rakan. Even though the support pool is getting extremely pinched here, I feel like it is the way to go.
Space maker. Space maker, playmaker.
Got a lot of space makers in
now let's see, what do I want to play here? What do I want to pick for my boys? I think I will look for a cheeky...
It's getting tricky, isn't
Nautilus ban.
Ooh, cheeky Nautilus ban. Well, thank you. Now you just gave me a free ban because I was about to ban that for you. Ooh, now it's a little bit tough, to be honest, because I feel like the engage pool is a little bit pinched here.
It's more of an issue for him than it is for you, though.
I would say so, because at least I do outrange with the Caitlyn and Syndra, even though they can find some sort of flanks.
All right.
It's a little bit hard here.
5 seconds left.
Yeah, it is a little bit hard. Actually, I'll pivot to Braum ban. Oh, and I missed the ban because I'm
I'll
bad.
take that as a Braum ban.
It's a Braum ban, just
Some
leave it like that.
oopsies here, we know it.
Now
Write it down.
All right.
The melee support pool is very pinched, so I will in fact be picking the Sion for my top laner, give counterpick to my support.
Counterpick to support when everything is banned, I feel like you're making a big mistake
No,
here.
but I'm using the Sion to help this Misfortune swap out of this Caitlyn lane to
I
avoid
like
it.
this.
Okay, well, my team does need a little bit more engaged, and I could go Renata here, but I feel like it wouldn't really play in my win
Not as banned.
conditions.
No, you went Braum, never mind.
I did ban Braum. I think I'm gonna go for the bar just so I can have a little bit more skirmish power.
That's a great Targamas pick. Very good job.
Well, I did my research. That's
Yeah.
that's why I'm here for, you know. And now for last pick, if I'm Canna and I have been cooking and I've been doing my homework, I think I need to double down a little bit on the engage angle, and I'm gonna be picking Gangplank.
Ooh. I
What?
think Gangplank is very good into Sion. Sion has often been a counterpick into Gangplank in many metas, in my mind.
But unless you're Canna, then you can just like, you know, stomp this kid.
Unless you're Canna. Now I need a clutch engage support for my team.
And there's
I'm against
none.
a Bard and Caitlyn. I have been scouting what Labrov has been playing in solo queue, and I will be looking for a Nico support.
That's-
my last pick.
That's a very game 4 draft, honestly, on both sides. Any final reasoning on why you went for this comp and then you Odoamne?
I wanted to secure strong laners
Yeah.
and a really good jungle matchup, because I
Alright.
think that's when G2 favors the most. I think I want caps on a playmaker, and I want SkewMond to have initiative to be able to fight in the jungle.
Odo?
I felt like it was a lot easier for me to secure these sort of early prio picks in the Zhao and the Syndra, because I feel like it rounds up the comp well. And with Caitlyn, it allows me a little bit of flexibility on what kind of champions do I want. Do I want Renata? Do I want Lux? Do I have Bard or Nautilus? He doesn't have enough bans to go for it, so it felt easy to go that. But I did feel like I need to round up my team comp with a little bit more skirmish power
I like
/
this.
engage or space making with Bard and Gangplank. So that was my thought process for this.
All right,
I do
boys.
wonder how you're going to deal
Let's
with
get to
my
the
swap,
desk.
though.
In
How
a
are we going
swap,
to deal with the swap?
well, I'm having Gangplank, so I'm just eating an orange and I'm okay.
We're gonna do the actual draft here at the desk in about a minute. It's getting ready. Twitch chat, though, tell me how you think the boys did and who won draft,
Well,
according to you, knowing the two teams that are about to play on stage for Game 4. And again, guys, it's the first time we see a Game 4 fearless draft. I'm just wondering about the mental state of the players of the teams, the fact that KC is on the verge of going to the loser bracket. I know that they don't. I know that they don't mind because they just want to push G2 to their limits at least. But do we see KC being able to be creative enough in this Game 4 to come back?
If I would be a player, which I'm not anymore, but if I would be in the situation,
Very good, though.
I feel like the problem is up to the coaches, right, to solve the draft problem of what champions are you picking, because technically, as a player, you just need to focus on what is in front of you and you just need to execute. So I think going into this Game 4, it wouldn't feel any different in that way. You're just going to play whatever is happening and the coaches will figure it out for you. So I wouldn't say there's extra pressure given that it's fearless draft.
And we're about to see what it's going to come down to here.
Yeah, I would say the players are just so full of adrenaline right now that you don't actually think about the consequences. You just want to go on stage and play a game. You want to prove how good you are to the world, and you want to show like what you can do. So that's what it's all about. We see here the Pantheon ban coming out, as you said, as you did as well.
It wasn't that hard for me because, you know, I just copied their first 2 bans from the first 3 drafts.
Stole their homework.
Yeah, so it's going to make me look good, but it makes sense. It's been prio picks, and the deeper you go into the series, the more sense it makes for you to keep those bans from the previous games, because right now you're in a position where you're picking probably tier 2, tier 3 champions, and all of a sudden if you leave the S tier pick open, that is going to get snatched probably first phase.
Yeah, and here we see actually KC banning the Jax, maybe setting up for Shinja first pick, being scared of that. Crucially, they're not banning the Caliste and Draven, which was the trade that we opted out for, and that's been the bans every single game in this series, but maybe it's something we're going to come back to in this game.
Well, they do still have the option into going to third ban, because I do think that Caliste and Draven are the bans that complement each other, that when you see one, you ban the other one. But one angle I would like to look at right now is, given that they ban this Jax, I feel like now you're deeper down the rabbit hole where you need to figure out what OPs are worth to trade and how do you manage to make a 2-for-1 trade on red side, because now this is gonna test the priorities of every team involved here and their meta reads on what is strongest, given that all of these champions are out.
Yeah, for me it's about securing those strong mid-jungle combinations on the 1-2 on red side here. That's why I opted in for the Jax already in our mock draft, and I reckon we're gonna see something kind of similar from G2 here. Knowing that Wukong is now open, Orianna is getting taken out. So a lot of actual target on the mid lane this game. We did not expect that.
Well, now the Draven and the Caliste are still open. The two junglers with Xin Zhao and Wukong, which I consider to be similar strength, are still open. So I don't think there is any threat to lock in one of those ADCs, and I just feel like it's an ADC pick. But which one do you choose? Do you choose the Draven, this Kalista? This Draven pick I think is really good because it will block the Kalista, and now it's a lot harder for Hans to cook an answer into this.
Yeah, but now we have to do the Kalista and the Wukong as an answer. Unless you want to go for the Nyla, which has been tried, but the general result here would be a Kalista pick and a Wukong pick, I would think, from G2.
Well, I wouldn't go for the Kalista just because Draven will be a little bit, you know, self-counter. You could always go for the Caitlyn and opt to just outrange the Draven and have, you know, power for power in the laning phase, and it doesn't feel like you're losing out. And if they do go for the Caitlyn, because again, it makes no sense to self-counter. But now, again, now you're even deeper down the rabbit hole. Do you pick the Xin Zhao or the Wukong? How does it look like now? Because you neutralize this one OP, what will the next OP be?
Or do you pick neither and just trade it, be happy with whatever, and pick the best support for a Caitlyn or the strongest mid laner available? There are many paths for G2 to take here. There's a lot of options they have depending on how they see the draft.
Yeah, it's a little bit hard to pick support because Nautilus, well, they go with the Xin Zhao, so we're probably going to be seeing Wukong here. It's hard to pick an engaged support because Renata is still open, so even if you be going for the Nautilus or even the Bard where you are like, okay, I have some engage right now that works well with Caitlyn, the Renata still works very, very well with Draven and they can counter it. So both teams are playing it a little bit more on the safer side where they choose to be the one reacting to the opponent.
Yeah, a lot of hovers coming out from Yike. We will have to. The Wukong would be the obvious answer, but he's been the one to like the Viego in the past. But I think Viego is so
Ryze,
reliant on his laners to set him up. You really need that first reset on Viego. And it kind of works similar to Draven. I feel like this is two kind of selfish champions that really want a lot of help. And the Ryze kinda, in a way, bridges that.
I have been waiting for this Ryze, though.
I have been waiting for it as well. This draft from K-Corp side is very, very atomic. It does rely a lot on them finding winning early skirmishes. On the flip side, they do have the Ryze that can just push the mid wave and find moves with Realm Warp at level 6, look for top lane or bot lane plays well also with the Draven. So I see the logic into it, but now you secure this core, this 3 core, but now you're going to 4-5, you're gonna get your priority picks banned. How do you round out this team comp to find more engage or space making?
Yeah, I see a very strong bot side from G2 coming up with the Caitlyn, Braum and Xin Zhao. That is a 3v3 that is almost unbeatable by anything Casey could pick here. And I really wonder what caps to look for in the mid lane into the Ryze. Maybe will they go for an Ahri or maybe a control mage? Because we saw that Orianna is already banned and they're banning even more control mages.
I feel like you can't really go for the, yeah, I mean, even if Orianna will be open, it's hard to go for a control mage. I think you need to match this sort of this volatility from Ryze and the Viego. I feel like Syndra would be an option. I think it would be working well and it would actually be guaranteeing them a 2v2 win, at least from how I see it. I would value them a little bit more, so they definitely want to lock in more skirmish. But on the flip side of K-Corp, I think, given that the bot side of G2 is Caitlyn, Xin Zhao, and Braum, I'm looking to play make on the other side of the map or just as much as possible around mid lane. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Bard coming in from Targamas and just ignoring bot lane, because it's kind of this reverse psychology thing where you're like, oh, well, Draven is in, so we need to focus bot lane because that's where all the action will be. But then you're like, nope, psych. Yeah. You just pick Bard and go mid, and all of a sudden you're just bamboozled because you're the first one to adapt to a new game plan.
Yeah, Draven is surprisingly adept at just playing by himself and just scaling up, getting those stacks.
Puts a lot of pressure on the team. Puts a lot of pressure.
It is a lot of pressure, and we will see Narband coming out and Swainband coming out, two top lane champions that we've
Probably opening up, you know, a little handshake in the top lane, I feel like. Ooh, this Anivia.
That's gonna be Anivia mid.
I think this is Anivia actually flexed, I would say.
Into the Ryze, I would assume, but it is an old pick of caps to play Anivia into these really short range comps. It makes me think way back to like his 2019, 2020 days when he was playing these crazy picks.
Realistically, I wouldn't see it as a top lane pick. I think it's more often locked in on mid, and I think it does make sense because if you look at K-Corp's team comp, it's extremely short range. Viego and Ryze are a little bit unreliable with, you know, providing a lot to a team fight. They're more side lane action focused in that sense. And Anivia can neutralize going into a 5v5 situation here. The Sion comes out.
Sion blind pick is very bold against someone like Brokenblade, who's shown time and time again that he has many counters. I wouldn't even think you can look for someone like a Darius to counter the Sion. I think when you look at Casey's draft, there's nothing he needs to respond to directly, and he has a lot of champions in his toolkit to counter these comps.
I would say so, but realistically, even if it becomes something so dire as the Darius top lane into the Sion, you can easily just go into a lane swap, but then it's all about the level 1. Ooh, the Seraphine is coming in. Ooh, I don't know if I like this. It feels a little bit anti-synergy, with Draven.
Yeah.
I feel like it works well given the fact that you have the Sion front line and the team fights are a little bit static with Sion and Ryze wanting to keep someone locked in place. It makes sense, but I don't think it brings the volatility for the Draven that I was looking for.
I just wonder who's gonna get the reset for Viego. I feel like it's really hard to just lock down and nuke one target so Viego gets his reset. As the Cho'Gath comes out into the... It is a handshake, as you say, Cho'Gath Sion.
It is such a monster pick here. It is such a monster pick here. When I think of Cho'Gath into Ryze and Ryze being this kind of machine gun mage, Cho'Gath just yells at you and tells you to shut up, and then and then all of a sudden you can't cast any spell. It feels like I'm quite happy from G2's perspective, but now it's a little interesting shift in dynamics because K-Corp is now the team that is forced to get creative compared to how it looked like in game 1 and 2.
Yeah, a lot of pressure is on K-Corp to make sure this early game goes as planned, to make sure this Sion actually, that you get the swap off, because you don't want this Draven Seraphine into the Caitlyn Braum, I would imagine.
Definitely not.
You want to use that Sion passive like the Bows has shown us many times, to die with those good deaths under tower to make sure your econ is strong even though you're dying.
So more tools on G2's side, or maybe easier to recover than Casey's composition. Where are we looking at in the early game quickly?
Oh, I'm looking at Yike to make some magic happen with Viego, because I feel like this game will be do or die by the Viego getting an early lead, and if G2 keeps it together, it feels like it's gonna snowball out of control.
Let's track those junglers then. Casey, in the hope of taking this to game 5, let's see if they have the composition to do it in this fearless best of 5. Casters, take it away.
Here we go. Game 4, what could be the deciding game of the series. Yike has his Viego, an 80% win rate on it all time. It's his most played pick across the course of his career. And then we have on the other side, Caps' Anivia, a 33% win rate on it all time. He's played it 3 games. He lost to NA. Oh no, wait.
No, he won. He beat NA.
No, because you're right. He beat NA.
It was the VCS who took us down.
Yes. And he did lose to TSM at Rift Rivals.
So
that doesn't count.
That MSI game against JoJo kind of sparked something in me. And so, fun fact, Caliste, he was born in 2006.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know when Anivia was released?
It's like one of the first champs.
It's 2009. Oh. He was 3 years old when this champion came out.
Yeah. What do you want me to say, man? It's not like it's a complicated champ. It's a bird. It has a wall. Okay. There's a thing with an egg. I'm pretty sure he's picked it up by now.
I just thought, yeah, it was a fun fact, and I'm really excited to see it. But I agree with what the desk was saying, that in terms of like, you go back to the old school days of League, Anivia was often used as an answer into Ryze just because he's a relatively short range champion, and Anivia, especially once she gets level 6, just punishes that range so heavily. The amount of zone control that she has with her ultimate is immense. And I mean, a champion like Ryze that loves to just stand there and machine gun his abilities, I mean, that ulti is going to chip away your HP bar incredibly quickly.
It's also a champion that wants to push and roam, and when you're against an Anivia, she kind of does fairly well at answering a lot of that push.
True.
So you don't really get a huge amount of time as Vladi to operate on these side lanes as much as you'd like to. And as you saw from his AS and T1, very good at zone control, as you're highlighting, Betty, in those team fights. So we'll see how well Caps has got the engineering for this wall down, and if he's been leveling that over his time since MSI.
Some good damage from Targamas and Caliste in the bot lane as we see the Seraphine Draven combination coming to the fore. That beat drop landing the root on Summer. Broken Blade looking for the knock-up, but can't quite land it onto Canna. It's not the Halo Blades Cho'Gath, unfortunately. I think we're all a little bit excited for the Shurelya's Halo Blades, but into a tank, it makes sense to be a tank yourself. And that's exactly what Broken Blade will be doing with the Grasp.
But that's only if you want Sidey to dictate what you can be. You can be whatever you want, I'm just saying, you know.
That is true. I do think Broken Blade likes winning games of League of Legends, and he's going to make the decisions that are optimal to do so.
I may have not won a game on Symbiotic Soul, Cho'Gath, but damn am I trying and having fun.
Well, as the desk said, what's going to be crucial for KC in order to win out on this game, pressure's going to be on Yike to find advantages in the early game. He has pathed towards the bot side of the map, but it's SkewMond that arrives in lane first. There is no vision here. Fog of War working in G2's favor. And here comes the flank.
Skips his camps to get down to the bot side in time. Level 3 hit flash forward from Labrov. Caliste is going to flash away, but doesn't have the cleanse. He's locked up. The shield's coming out from Targamas alongside that healer enough to get him to safety. Now, G2 burnt 2 of their flashes, and Yike's on his way. Lands the stun. SkewMond dashes back in. Yike almost stunned with those concussive blows. In the end, an exchange of summoners in the bot lane with no one falling.
Yeah, I think Yike kind of obviously went a bit too far there. I think the fact that you nullified that play should have been enough, but actually having to burn his own flash now as well leaves him a little bit more vulnerable in the matchup, because SkewMond could definitely look for some of these invades and go toe-to-toe against Yike. Now, having that level advantage does help a little bit, but he is definitely more vulnerable now to some of these plays.
Nice awareness from SkewMond though. The timing was good, and I'm honestly surprised that Caliste lived as long as he did. The fact that the shielding came through, the heal as well, the sorry, not the exhaust, the barrier providing a lot of value. Yike already though back out onto the map, sets his sights on the top lane, playing relatively low, but yeah, doesn't look like an easy gank, so instead he's just going to turn his attention towards the Scuttle Crab and return to his clear.
Even though Brookblade is falling a little bit low, he does have that passive carnivore, you know, just heals himself up a ton in the lane. Across the board, a little bit of red for G2 in terms of gold leads, about 180 carry, 100 in mid, nothing too consequential as of yet. We've kind of seen the series dictated by a single sequence in the mid game between, say, 15 and 25 minutes where one team gains a lead and then never gives up that lead. So far it's been G2 twice and Karmine Corp once. I'm sure they're looking to rectify that state of affairs.
Biggest advantage that G2 have gained off the back of forcing all those summoner spells out is, like, look at how much harder it is for Caliste and Targamas to play as aggressively as they were in the early levels. It's so risky because if a single Braum Q connects, the risk of a chase down, the amount of damage that they have could be very real, especially if the ever-present SkewMond could be around. They should expect him to be on his top side as he's continuing with his clear. Fortunately for them, Yike is already on the bot side of the map. He's already got level 5 for himself, as SkewMond looking to do the same thing. But this bot side of the map is going to be crucial, and their jungle involvement is going to be crucial alongside it.
I am curious how KC are going to try and unlock Vladi in this mid lane though, because a lot of the times when you have a Ryze that's into a matchup that's not wonderful for him, you'll see kind of the early jungle presence towards that mid lane, but with no flash on Yike, he hasn't been able to put as much pressure in towards the mid, so maybe they're looking at some sort of way to use Vladi in this moment where he's got pushed now in mid. You can look for a potential dragon take, but actually ult to that top side to also contest Void Grubs in some of these moments, but we'll have to see exactly how it is, because Yike, I don't think he realizes just stood on a ward.
Spotted on vision. Caps TPing back to the mid lane as well. There's a short window there where Caps had a teleport advantage. Looks like Yike is going to work his way through these bot bushes. He'll be on more vision as he comes across. Labrov was caught up with a beat drop, but they're just waiting here. G2 now going to step forward. SkewMond coming around the side. Yike has just finished his recall. And Caliste and Targamas respect the fact their jungler's not there anymore, so back off. But because of that, G2 get the pressure on the Dragon.
Vision on Dragon though, at least so KC will know, can immediately start to move up towards those Void Grubs. Broken Blade did use his ult on the wave, so won't be able to just walk in and ult one of them quite yet, which is at least a little bit of a help. But I think, yeah, it's just going to be trying to trade on the map here for KC as they start to shift Caliste and Targamas back to the bottom side.
Pings as well coming down onto the red buff as SkewMond recognizes that he's still got to kill this dragon. The red buff is respawning, and Yike is definitely pathing towards the top side of the map. So Broken Blade gonna have to have that awareness and recognize that that top jungle is not safe.
I will say though, the back timer for Caliste and Targamas there wasn't great, because you can see Hansam and Labrov got to crash a pretty sizable wave and now open up a nice CS lead for themselves on that bottom side. So at least for G2, Hansam is starting to open up that lead against the Draven, but again, you kind of need to kill Draven to really put him out of the game. So I think that's going to be the big action that G2 are trying to make happen, is getting this adoration stacks off of Caliste.
Yeah, currently at 147 stacks. At 2.5 gold per stack that you get when you cash in. Obviously, if you die, you lose a bunch of them. So you want to make sure, if you're this Draven, that you're just staying alive, getting that bit of extra gold infusion. Has the Serrated Dirk already alongside Hansama has matched that. He's ever so slightly ahead in terms of itemization in this early game. But so far, basically just standard laning, you know, small advantages being eked out here or there. Caliste's flash about to come back off cooldown, so he can play a little bit more aggressively. Labrov and Hansama have the same. No vision around the bot side right now, but no junglers or mid laners coming down here either. Vladi actually working his way up towards top, perhaps looking for a realm warp there. Broken Blade doesn't have the feast, but pretty hard to get through a Cho'Gath at this point of the game.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's, hey, I want to try and make a play towards top, or if it's try and get some vision down so then we can actually make a play bot and keep kind of safe, because G2 have the push here, and Yike is also pathing down towards bot. That's a lot of damage to Targamas though, so might have to call off any sort of play here.
Oh, we talked about how if a single Braum Q connects, how scary that can be for the bot lane, and they were forced to retreat underneath their tower. You can see small CS advantages being accrued in favor of Hans Summer and for Caps as well. Nothing too significant though to write home about. This game is in a dead even state, which has largely been the state of the series.
Yep.
As we've talked about, a single play, a pick, a team fight has largely been the deciding moment throughout the series. It's all about who can find that moment first.
You keep looking at the mid lane though. Every time the wave is cleared, we're constantly looking at this potential path for Vladi to disappear. So always Caps is pushing up, just trying to get vision there. Now we have to get some decent damage on the Vladi. Actually nice, because again, it's about trying to minimize Vladi's impact on the map. So at least Caps keeping good control of him.
Caps kind of baiting here. Spectral Maw coming out. SkewMond looking for Yike as well. You see Caps stepped up very aggressively, and they knew Yike was in that bush because he was clearing a ward. Heal. Caliste gonna get knocked up. No ace in the hole available for Hans Summer, but it's more about forcing the Draven and Seraphine to have to be more passive, especially with Yike on this bottom side of the map.
He's here to cover for a potential dive. SkewMond instead prioritizing his blue. But Hans Summer and
Look at
Labrov
Vladi, buddy.
playing this lane incredibly well. You talked about the potential ult from Vladi, Rob.
Is it just a cover?
I mean, this looks like a play to me.
But they know that nobody's on mid. Look at the pings from G2.
Oh, good interrupt there. The Unbreakable coming out from Labrov. He is going to die. First blood to Caliste. But Labrov definitely saved his AD carry there, eating up the Encore.
You can see G2, they were pinging on the mid wave because Vladi just lost an entire wave for this play on bot, and they were like, look, something is happening on the map. Back off, but just couldn't quite get out soon enough. But as you say, Labrov kind of jumping on the grenade for the rest of his team there and making sure G2 could somewhat get out.
I mean, they get Caliste out of what was a difficult laning phase, and they get a lot of gold funneled into him. You can see a 300 gold lead now. BF and Serrated Dirk is going to give him a lot more power in the 2 versus 2. But I mean, Dagda was constantly warning about that possibility for Vladi, his ability to join the lane at any point. Of course, the range on that ulti, not quite that long in its first level, but it's enough to make these plays happen.
Yeah, Karmine Corp will be happy with that sequence. G2 will be happy they didn't lose more out of that sequence. Caliste goes back, gets himself that BF sword. Now, Camp's just trying to catch the wave in mid. The grubs are up in 19 seconds time, and it would be 6 for Karmine Corp if they can take these next 3. Really, they'll just be looking for 4 to start it off, get the mites. Broken Blade just TP'd down to the bot lane, and Canna's still on top. So it actually looks like G2 might not fight around the grubs. They're going to be outnumbered if they do.
Yeah, I think they're just going to call it. Canna kind of sticking around with that ultimate. And as the Sion, you're kind of okay to say, hey, look, I'm not going to be down here for this bottom side. Sure, you might give some gold across the Cho'Gath, but a bit of extra gold doesn't mean too much into a tank Cho'Gath. It's more about securing all 6 grubs for yourselves. And now you can also ult into that bottom wave if you need to try and catch up as well.
I think for G2, there's a strong argument that do grubs matter when we have enough wave clear to keep KC away? Right, you have the Anivia with the Glacial Storm, you've got Caitlyn who can clear from range. Like, yes, if Karmine Corp get time with towers, as they are with top power right now, they are going to get through them very quickly. But can you just clear the wave before they get there?
I would agree if it wasn't for the Ryze. Ryze then operates in, hey, I can outnumber you on the tower, so I can start to threaten like positions like this, and then deny you access to the turret, and then I'm able to actually take these fights, right?
Sure.
And I think that's where you can start to get your chip damage down. So you just have to be a little careful here as as G2.
Labrov stepping forward. SkewMond is waiting around the corner, but Karmine Corp not stepping too far yet. Unbreakable from Labrov. SkewMond's still waiting. Yike is here now. The Encore comes out. No Unbreakable. Crescent Guard used by SkewMond. Glacial Fissure as well. Yike has to ult him away with the Heartbreaker.
Trade of ultis, but farm is being lost by Hans Summer as this exchange goes on. Of course, the CS discrepancy isn't really closing that much, but the gold continues to go the way of Caliste. Meanwhile, the Dragon actually being started off by Caps, I do believe.
Crucially though, Vladi tried to make a play on boss, had to ult then into the mid to collect that wave. So G2 now know that that ultimate is no longer available, which is why I think they're feeling a little bit more confident. They do have this ultimate from Broken Blade to secure Dragons, so they're perfectly fine to match the play on top and still have essentially a smite for this objective.
Yeah, Vladi just TP'd down towards the bot lane Triber to try and get here in time, but as you say, the Feast comes out. Now SkewMond chasing onto Canna, who has to flash across the crystallized wall. G2 will be able to secure the objective. That's their second Drake of the game.
Canna doing his best to try and stall out, delay, to allow for Vladi to arrive, maybe find a flank onto Caps. Doesn't quite pan out the way that KC would have liked. But as you rightly said, Medic, second Dragon of the game, reminiscent of what we saw in Game 1, where G2 put a heavy priority on these Dragons. They got to a point where they were already threatening Soul so early in the game that it made the game a lot harder for KC, because then G2 could really determine the fights that they wanted. I will say the thing that I'm thinking about with G2's composition is it is somewhat limited in terms of its engage options. You're very reliant on Yike, and when playing Anivia, you want opponents to walk into you. You want them to come into the areas that you control as Braum in danger.
Spectral Maw coming out for the CC. Crystallized, Labrov can jump over that wall. You can see the CC from KC, if they do catch someone, is pretty powerful. They have a lot to CC chain in.
I think G2 are playing a hyper defensive game in this one, which does make sense, but I think the biggest issue is for every time KC try to make a play, it has been Cap shoving in mid and punishing Vladi for trying to make these roams. So you're starting to see that CS lead growing and growing in the mid lane. And as long as G2 are able to just keep these waves off the towers, I think then they get to a point where the Anivia does scale into the game. The Cho'Gath becomes an absolute nuisance as well. And then even in a position where you can't really start the team fights off in your way, a lot of KC are still incredibly short range, so they will have to fight you at some stage. And I think you just play for those moments around the objectives.
The other thing I'm thinking about is Anivia really doesn't want to be in a side lane. It's so easy for her to, as Rob is describing, just get control of a mid because of how quickly you can one-shot the wave. But then Caitlyn doesn't really want to be in a side lane either. So it's a bit of an awkward setup as we get later into the game, because Vladi's going to be more than happy to push those side lanes with Sion sitting on the other end to allow this freedom for the Draven in mid. We'll see how they address that as the game continues. Ulti.
Targamas all locked up. Ace in the hole coming out as well. He manages to flash behind the safety of Yike. Unbreakable. The Crystallize and that Glacial Storm doing a lot of work. Vladi down to 200 HP. G2 just chipping away at KC. Caliste, I feel like he wanted to fight around this time, going double BF sword rather than looking to complete a first item, really looking for that spike, but everyone's so low on Karmine Corp, it's going to be hard for them to actually challenge this.
And this is the problem for KC. They are very short range. Like when you look at Vladi, when you look at Yike, so they kind of have to play in towards Caps, and his walls thus far have been really good. I mean, you were highlighting it there in that fight, so it's making it very difficult for KC to play out of that position once it happens. And Broken Blade now.
Is it enough? It's enough! Just gobbles him up! Nom 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 nom.
An easy kill for Broken Blades. I mean, he really did make that look so easy. Gentleman Cho'Gath tips his hat. And he's likely going to get a tower here as well. Maybe he's overstayed his welcome on the bot side. But
he's got no mana. It would be difficult for him to fight against Yike. SkewMond is hovering him. Yike is hit. Oh, the dodge on the Spectral Maw. Basically blind as Yike comes across and has to Heartbreaker. SkewMond isn't going to chase any further. Didn't have the flash.
Yeah, he'd already used the Audacious Charge as well to try and get in there, so doesn't want to overextend, especially when there are members of KC missing off the map. But still, like, great play from G2. You get the solo kill on the bottom side, now you get the tower as a result, and you can look at where Karmine Corp are on the map. They're not really in a position to try and trade up, especially when you just showed Yike on the bottom side. Rift Tower's not going to be taken.
Okay. I love the fact that in this series, we've seen a lot of close state of affairs. We're building up towards the Herald, which is already on the map. Dragon is still a minute away. They're sending Caps to bot lane. He does have the TP available. Already, Broken Blade and SkewMond are grouping up together. One of the advantages of this Cho'Gath is with his insane HP pool, it's easier to face check into objective, especially when paired alongside Labrov. Right now, with the control they have in mid, they're making their way into the river. The chase is coming down into top lane.
Oh, good sidestep from Vladi. His movement has been really clean today. The ace in the hole won't be enough. He's still got that Seraph shield as well. Can walk away. Does have TP to get back up here if he wants to join a play.
There's resetting with Canna as well, so it might be a double TP in if G2 are about to start off the Rift Tower, but doesn't look like they're going to go for it. You got Dragon in 30 seconds. I think G2 playing for when those double objectives are up to try and help out a little bit, but in this situation, G2 happy to just take Mountain Dragon. You've got, oh, hang on.
Flash forward. Glacial Bishop doesn't connect. Targamas was waiting around the corner as well and has that Mikhail's if any CC did land.
But that's a big loss. Now Labrov definitely can't fight out a potential Dragon, as Vladi actually taking a good chunk of damage. Yike on the way, but again, this is now getting messy, because Labrov, I was like, you don't have ult? Great, KC should be able to now fight at this next objective, but now that you have helped at Vladi, it kind of gets a little wonky on the play.
It looks like it's just going to be a trade.
Yeah, it is going to be a trade.
So nothing too crazy. And I think G2's happier about this just because they'll get the top tier 1 as well. Against this Anivia, it's too difficult to siege, especially with Labrov, who was hovering on the bot lane as well. Overall advantage gain, and now they can use this Herald to finish off that tier 1 in the mid lane, already opening up the map for themselves. Another Om Nom Nom comes through for Broken Blade, 9 stacks now.
It's got 5,000 HP right now, and a Heartsteel with
And we're
290.
18 and a half minutes into the game.
Yeah.
There's the Unending Despair as well, so he's going to be sticking around for quite a while in these fights.
Is he killable?
Oh, someone can definitely kill him.
I think you need a few people to kill him.
Yeah, but the question is, can you kill everyone else on G2 and then kill the Cho'Gath
All right,
afterwards?
let's look out. Let's see how much damage an auto from Caliste actually does.
Can anyone ask FLICKR as well how he feels about the Cho'Gath? Because the last time Broken Blade got his hands on this, it didn't end too well for the AD carry.
Another thing I've noticed as we've cycled through some of the champions here is Labrov actually maxing out his E first, which I really like in this. Like, often you want to go for the Winter's Bite for harass in lane, etc. But the Unbreakable cooldown, if you reduce that early by putting extra points in it, it's so powerful in a matchup like this where he's the one who is eating a lot of the initiation, like the encore. You can eat the Spectral Maw coming out as well. You can eat or just axes coming out from Caliste. There's so much power in that Braum having his E on as short a cooldown as possible.
What the desk was saying earlier was that a lot of responsibility falls onto Yike's shoulders in the early game to find things to happen. But if he's not able to, G2's just freely allowed to scale. This game gets a lot harder given the options that they have. And right now, G2 have played very defensively. Dagda, you were talking about this earlier. And they're more than happy with the game state right now, slowly but surely chipping away at the structures. Broken Blades.
Can they kill him? There's the root. Gets the silence, isn't getting knocked up with the decimating smash. No one really was able to auto-attack him there, so I'm gonna say we don't know yet if they can kill him.
Results inconclusive on the experiment. We'll have to return
I
to
saw
this.
Caliste auto-attack him. I didn't see his HP go down.
Canna stunned up with this concussive blow.
So much damage.
Follow. Look at the damage Caliste just taking by sitting in the Glacial Storm.
Look, he's only 3 years old. He doesn't know what this does, okay?
Oh, it's so true.
Moving.
G2, yeah, gonna go up towards Atakan here.
Can they start this? I mean, they've done good damage.
They still have Feast, Vedi. They basically have a 3,000 damage smite right now.
Labrov gonna
Probably
get
less
healed
than that,
up.
like 2.5k, but still.
The Shred is still going to offer a lot of value. Yike comes in. Here comes the TP as well.
Yike trying to step forward. Broken Blade acting as that bodyguard. Can't quite land the knockup. Vladi's coming in from the bottom side. They dive onto Canna and Yike. Broken Blade flashes, and Yike gets gobbled up. The Realm Warp in as well. I don't think Vladi wanted to take that. That's a one-way ticket to nowhere. Canna, the next target for G2. The Encore comes over 3, but Targamas now on the retreat, has to flash the wall, and SkewMond, wind becomes lightning, and Targamas becomes fertilizer. Caliste now with a flash and a barrier. Gets over to the right side of the wall. Caps still looking for more. And there is another. Caps' passive has not even been procced this game. G2 with an ace at 22 minutes.
G2 just immediately turn onto the KC tanks. It was such a spread out fight, and G2 recognize it. Brilliant turn, and the Atakan to boot now.
Broken Blade is the only boss that you need to find a way of shutting down on the Rift right now, because this man is an absolute monster. Look at the turn onto Yike. They first apply the silence, they turn their attention onto him, flash, auto, gobble. Easy combo comes through. The Realm Warp comes in. Vladi, I mean, he gets immediately shut down and forced to flash out. I mean, it's just a one-sided slaughter. KC couldn't even get a proper setup to even find a good fight.
So I think Caliste and Targamas in the last second realized how terrible that Realm Warp was going to be, but unfortunately the Ryze just didn't quite get the memo, so KC all end up falling off the back of that. And you called it, right? You don't even get the passive off of the Anivia. You still have all the Atakan buff left to go. This should be G2 now able to crack open these outer turrets and just kind of put KC in their own base.
Yeah. Cho'Gath.
Broken Blade had Feast back up to Feast Atakan, by the way, so he's now at 11 stacks.
The thing is though, like, it's that the true damage is the ult. He just did more damage with everything else, and he tanked Cho'Gath.
Heartsteel, baby. Heartsteel.
I mean, the idea behind Cho'Gath, right, is that his W is very low range. his Q is very difficult to land. And he's just very large and slow. So in theory, you can kite around him. But that's what team comps are for. And so then when you chuck a Braum and a Xin in there and they do all the CCing for you, it makes it much easier to land all that other CC.
I will say Cap's putting down a massive AoE slow.
Also helps.
Probably contributes. If you guys think Cho'Gath is broken, by the way, you can join up to the LEC WhatsApp. It's we're on WhatsApp. You can scan that community code. You then you can get updates, news, opportunities to vote for special fan vote stuff. Really cool. Scan that or look up LEC under updates in WhatsApp if you want to join the conversation. As G2 currently aren't really letting Karmine Corp join the conversation at all.
No,
A
they're
4,000 gold lead. It will be another Drake to them. Delayed by 1 if they were looking for a fast soul. They're only on soul point now as Karmine Corp were able to take the Dragon earlier on while G2 took the Rift out.
And it becomes a question of what are the options for KC? Like, maybe catching someone off in a side lane? You have to get creative with how this Ryze can use the ultimate. Caliste now, he doesn't have flash.
Does not have flash, and that's a flash frost to the face. It's or frostbite, I believe. As G2 now pushing through mid.
And like, I think that this is actually something that Jojo Pyun talks about after Caps ran out this Anivia, is that like, this is not a champion you see particularly often. So oftentimes you haven't played against it in competitive, you haven't played against it in scrim, so you're just not really sure what exactly you're supposed to do against a champion like this. And unfortunately, KC feel a bit lost.
A major issue as well for KC is as soon as Caliste is dead, where's your consistent DPS on a Cho'Gath? Even with Caliste alive, it's still going to be tricky, but at least he can chuck some axes into that massive gentleman. Right now, G2 just pushed through mid, don't really care about the fact that Karmine Corp are trying to harass them as they do. False life has fallen off. Yike tried to step forward. Caps, you got a stun over the wall here?
I mean, the scariest thing about Anivia in the late game is the wall, because you don't put any, well, you put maybe 1 point in it early, but in the late game, when you put more points into it, the size of the wall, it can cover so much space. And it can trap people off. Canna, he's trying to escape, but there's the wall.
The crystallize. Encore is going to hit onto 3, but they don't really have the follow-up as of yet. Canna's still on that front line, but the dive onto the back. Caliste locked up. G2 find another. They're going to try and warp out, but the crystallize into the knock-up.
Triple?
It's a triple for Vidi. A quadra for Vidi. Get back here, Yike! Get back here!
He's CPing!
It's a Michelin star meal, Broken Blade. No! No! You know, it was raw and wriggling and ready to be eaten up, Broken Blade. But instead, the Nexus G2's target, a spot in the grand finals, G2's target. And Karmine Corp could not stand up to the power of the Gentleman Cho. 11-1, 26 minutes in. Karmine Corp locked in their fountain. They're not climbing that blue wall as G2 go to the finals.
Yike refuses to be the prawn for this Cho'Gath, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day. G2 looking incredibly strong moving on towards finals.
I mean, you have to feel that the flexibility that G2 has historically been known for would be favorable for them in these fearless drafts. And I feel like that Game 4 was a perfect demonstration of it. Bringing out the Anivia, the Cho'Gath is not something new, but when you see that short-range composition coming through from the side of KC, it just made so much sense.
You can vote for one of the G2 players in your Player of the Series vote at LEC on X. SkewMond, Labrov, and Hansama are your options. Labrov.
That's Broken Blade on the screen.
Oh, sorry. Well, that's not what it says on the telestrator.
Okay.
Whichever ones are up there are your options,
Yes,
guys.
go check X.
Vote for Labrov. He was definitely there.
Yeah, it's Labrov. Labrov had an insane series.
Had a banger series.
100%. He may not have been as present in the final game, but you can't deny how impactful he was so consistently throughout the series.
Yeah, he may not have been present, but he was gift wrapping KC for the rest of his team. It was
only he played the Santa Braum skin.
I know,
It would have been perfect.
The best.
But no, it was sick. Incredible performance from Labrov. His engages were spectacular. The Blitzcrank was insane. And the fact that he's now firing all cylinders just makes G2 so much more threatening.
And now we know what's happening next week. We've got Fnatic versus Koi in our first round of the finals run, moving into the winner of that that to KC, and then the winner of that for G2 in the grand finals. So some things change and some things don't.
Starts on Friday, importantly.
Does
Friday,
in fact
Saturday,
start on
Sunday.
Friday. So
And there's no other league on, so you just watch it.
You've got to be here.
What else are you watching?
LPL?
LCK's done? LPL I'll give you. But LCK's done, LTA's
That's the
done.
morning, you know, LPL is...
True, you can get the best of both
Exactly,
worlds.
yeah.
Let's go through the whole shebang. We're waiting for an interview. There will be an interview in a moment. I haven't been told to pass it over to the interview yet. It says stall for int W. That's what I do in solo queues.
It's Caps.
Is it Caps? Is he down there? Oh, I can see him standing there.
Yeah.
Ginny's talking to him right now. You guys don't get to hear that conversation. That's the secret pre-interview. You guys gonna say anything? You just
Good job, Vedius. No, I actually
just
quite
kept
enjoy.
rambling.
I'm done. I'm off to cast Red Bull. Not Red Bull, Trackmania. That's the name of it.
Have fun. Hope you have a wonderful time.
People go Zoom.
Yeah. Will they go as fast as the Cho'Gath will, is the real question.
He didn't go that fast, Vedi. It wasn't
everyone else was
Cosmic
slow.
Drive.
He was really fast.
Oh, was he? Was he really
I mean,
fast?
I think from the perspective of Caliste, he was going really
Yeah, went too quick. It's relative speed.
I was going to say, it's all relative, right? So it's like if they're going slow and he's still going normal speed, but then it's...
Exactly that.
I think it's what Einstein said. I think specifically we're
that's
talking
the
about
theory
broken
of
blade
relativity, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway,
You
we're
can-
going to
you
toss
can
it
do
over to an
Vedi.
interview with
Thank
Caps.
God.
It's Caps. Bye.
Hi guys, I'm standing by with Caps from G2 in the Marriott Bonvoy post-game check-in. There was a little conversation before the interview that they were talking about, so maybe we can have that conversation again. It was surrounding the fact that I thought you guys were not going to win this, so it was actually really clean, 3-1 from your side of things. How has this series been for you when it comes to the fact that it's a best of 5 and it was a fearless?
Yeah, I mean, I think the fearless games, like the later games, were very fun for us. I think the first 2 games didn't go that great, especially for me. I mean, we won the first one, but Yike definitely liked ganking me. So I think when it went to the later series, we kind of like realized their game plan, right? And especially with the egg, it's a bit hard to gank. So it was fun to play anyway.
It was nothing personal from Yike. Don't worry about that. The last game, though, really great. You were playing Anivia. The blue wall champion against the blue wall. Was there like a reasoning behind it, or just feel like the right champion to play?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely quite strong in the draft. They didn't have that many dashes, so the wall can be quite annoying, especially when they log in the Sion. They can cancel that as well. So it was fun to play.
Was it fun against the Ryze? Because that used to be your pick. So now you're seeing you go up against Vladi, and like the next generation of mid laners here. How does that feel?
Yeah, I mean, it was nice because we actually did it back in 2022. I was playing against Jojo, and he picked the Ryze, and I picked Anivia. And he's a bit on the younger side, so he didn't really know what Anivia did because it's very old. And I was hoping it would be similar with Vladi, like it's a very season 1 champ. So maybe it's the strat against some of the newer mids to just pick the old champions and fearless.
Maybe it is, but it worked out this time, right? You guys are coming out on top. I feel like the game, like you're talking about the fearless and you're talking about the first few games not being necessarily as exciting when it comes to some of these picks. And as you're going down, of course, lesser champions available in the pool. How many games of fearless draft do you think G2 has in them?
We were actually talking about it because, like, technically, I think there's 160 champs or 170 or something. So we were talking about, like, how far can we actually go in this in the best of 5? And I think it would be a pretty crazy experience to try, like, the game 12, the game 13, like, see how these games look. But I think for now we're just aiming for the 5 games, and as long as we make it through those, then it's good.
Which you've done so far. When it comes to the key player of the game, it is going to be Broken Blade. He's been like a rock in the top lane for a very long time. Do you have anything that you think makes him different than other top laners potentially that we see?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has a lot of the cheese picks, right? We saw the Warwick coming in last week. I think now we had the Cho'Gath coming in, and he was very tanky on the Cho'Gath, so it was definitely quite hard for them to play with.
When it comes to G2 as general, we've now seen the best of 5 Fearless series. It's the first one that we've seen here in the LEC. It felt like you guys had really great preparation when it comes to these drafts. They were continuously going your way. So as you're heading into these finals, as you're heading towards maybe another trophy, who knows, don't want to jinx anything. What is your philosophy as a mid laner? Are you working on trying more champions? Maybe some unconventional picks that we don't necessarily see in mid lane?
I mean, definitely trying to play a little bit more, but at the same time, I think there's just a lot of mid lane champions, so it's maybe more like especially the AD carries. There's maybe not so many in the I guess top lane also has quite a bit, but like maybe top sometimes can get weird as well. I think the mid lane, there's just like so many champs. I feel like I could play another like 5-6 games before it starts getting weird. Okay. I guess with Anivia today it's a bit weird, but I didn't expect to play that as well necessarily, but yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
That is us done here on the stage. We're going to be heading over to PGL in the fan zone with Laure, Caliste, and SkewMond. So, Laure, take it away.